Oh man. Okay. So as a guitar player, I would be remiss if I didn't ask about um, playing with two of the greatest guitar players of the 20th century, and even now in Joe Satriani and Steve Vai. Um, what are the differences and similarities between their approaches to recording and touring? And what have you learned from them that you've been able to apply to your own music career and your own compositional process?
Well, that's it. There's a lot going on there. I mean, like
Yeah.
a lot of people have spoken into like what makes JoJo, what makes Steve Steve, and I'm not sure I have any like illuminating insight to add, even though I've played and toured with both of them. It's kind of all out there, right? Steve's artistry is a derivation of the Frank Zappa uh, mystique and ethic, which is we're going to write really difficult music. We're going to walk the high wire. We're going to do the impossible, and we're going to execute it flawlessly, and it's going to be amazing, you know. And that was a big part of what Frank Zappa's band was doing. They were doing all this insane technical playing, and they were doing it like, you know, with a wink and a nod, you know, while someone was naked on stage or something or whatever it happened to be. Steve's thing was a little bit more mystical than that. You know, obviously he's the cover Passion and Warfare was clear what kind of the thing he was trying to say with his own artistry, kind of like this magic world of insane music and technically proficient, also beautiful guitar playing and compositions. And so with him, it was really about fulfilling his vision, making it accurate, playing the part exactly the way that he wanted it. And there were moments where we could, you know, improvise, but not that many. They were really small, specific moments in the show. Other than that, it was like, here's the script, you know, some parts we can jam out, but mostly you just got to nail this script, and it is not an easy script, and make sure that you do it the right way so that I can get up here and do something that's twice as hard as what you're doing. That's the Steve Vai thing. Joe is very different. Joe is, you know, his compositions seem simpler on the surface, and they are less dense for sure. But Joe is more focused on simpler melodies and simpler song structures that can like connect on a deeply emotional level. Not that Steve stuff doesn't connect on an emotional level. That's not what I'm saying. But that's what Joe's going for, is that the whole thing is designed because it comes from him authentically, not because he's trying to be more mainstream or anything. That's just what he believes in. He's a huge Beatles guy, you know? So his compositions, you have to really make sure that you're serving the song and not overplaying, you know, so that the little tiny bits of each carefully constructed melody that he's done can speak as cleanly as they can. And that's the same on stage as in the studio. Although in the studio, it's funny, he really believes in the difference between the studio and the live thing. Studio is like, this is the song. It's like old school. Like we're making a single here. Like we're making a song. This is the statement of the song. Don't fuck around. That's generally what it is. But when we got on stage, it's like, all right, loosen up, have some fun with it. You know, don't go crazy, be appropriate. But and then with Joe's gig, there's a lot more jamming. There's a lot more open moments in a Joe show than there are in a Steve show. And they're generally very rootsy, you know, like R&B almost, you know, old school, Hendrix, old rock, and even like classic Motown come into play there. So it's two very different approaches. Like really, the fact that Steve and Joe have been joined at the hip because Joe taught Steve for a very brief portion of time when they were teenagers in Long Island is kind of like one of life's cosmic little jokes, because their artistries are just so utterly different, and everybody knows that. But that's kind of one of the reasons that their story is so compelling, is because here they are. They're not that far apart in age. They both came from the same place. They both wanted to do extraordinary things with their guitar, and look at how different they are.